Hello and welcome everyone to PiddyCon 4, brought to you by OVH Cloud, which is our server host as well. If you didn't know, now you know. Right. The agenda for today is I'll start with some introduction and stats. I'm Sally, by the way, if you didn't know. Then Richie will present changes to Alpha Wiki's program, job or zone, and Brett, Evanescent, will present business strategy, and Radoslav or Nidra will present Liquipedia App, and after which we'll have a Q&A session where you can ask questions. Feel free to use the thread in general chat on our Discord to post your questions, so we will get them. If you post them on Twitch chat, who knows if we'll see them or not. Maybe we will. Right. I'll start. Hi. I'm Erik Sallesaler. And I'll start talking about our new employees, of which Job Zone Captain Coach Hilbers is one. He is our business development manager. He's a former Smite coach and Overwatch semi-pro. I heard just today I got this new nugget of information that he was in a top 15 team in Europe back in, I don't know, 6 years ago, something like that. I'm very impressed. You're still muted. I'm really sorry, Job. Too bad. And he used to work in digital marketing before Liquipedia, and he's Dutch. Ergo the flag. We also hired Richard Rathos Blixt for working on modules and as a modules and template developer, or LPDB dev for short, I think we call it. He's a massive Rainbow Six fan, and he worked as a developer for a bank before this, and he's a fellow Swede, so I'm very happy to have someone else on the team who speaks the language of Jesus. Heroes and honor, I think, is what the Swedes call our language. Right, on to other things. We have promoted a couple of few wikis in the last 6 months since the last PiddyCon. PUBG Mobile is sort of a new wiki. It's not obviously new, we just split PUBG and PUBG Mobile, but I'm counting it anyways. And then we have some new alpha wikis, Mobile Legends, Sideswides, and today, I think, or yesterday, Trackmania as well. We don't have any new pre-alpha wikis yet. That's TBA. We have also a couple of wikis with top months in 2020 already. Counter-Strike had a almost 2% growth compared to October 2021 in May, this month, and very much thanks to the major. Rocket League had a 12.6% lift compared to August 2020, and that was RLCS. Regionals versus like RLCS X, I think it was like the 10th series that had like its finals back in August. So that's really cool to see that it's like the preliminaries are pulling in massive numbers, which is boding really well for Rocket League. Free Fire grew massively as well. I do not know which events that was. That happened in January. I think it was their Worlds event. Trackmania has had a lot of events, and it's just been growing massively this year. Then also Pokemon, TFT and FIFA has seen really nice big growth. So we're very happy with those for these wikis. Talking about traffic, I'll take some numbers from January 1st to May 31st in all of these years, you see, and compare them to each other to see how growth have gone in like this 5-month period of time. And we can see that our growth is decently steady, except this year it's slightly smaller than most years, which is pretty much if we had a Dota major that was cancelled, supposed to be played out in February or so. If that hadn't been cancelled, we would be pretty on target for like our regular growth. So just one little snag there. Also, last year we had massive growth thanks to lockdowns ending and big events coming on again. So that's why it's a big jump and then a small step this year. So that could also have played an effect that we already grew a lot last year. And looking again at desktop versus mobile, I think this is a little bit clearer view of what's been going on. So there are more visitors coming in with mobile phones, but more people on desktop are visiting the site more often. And when they are visiting the site more often, they're also spending more time and view more pages, which is like, that's the expected, that the traffic and time on site would be higher, a higher share for desktop than for mobile, but the fact that the number of visits or sessions is smaller for mobile is quite concerning, and it's a clear indication that we do need to keep on improving the mobile experience for people, as it's clearly not working as intended or as well as desktop. I also have some cool dark mode sneak peeks. We have had updates on the design that's going to, I think just today, that they are put into production and going to start working for a beta with these designs now. And it's very much thanks to a lot of great feedback we got from the people in the dark theme eyes emoji channel on Discord. So thank you so much. As you can see here, I have included the people who gave feedback. You can see the little Martin emoji, or not emoji, avatar popping around, giving comments on different things, improving the look of this. And the sneak peek is already outdated. Yeah, I mean, kinda. There's some minor changes to this, and obviously it's all it's going to change. Like this is the design. It will hopefully look better when it's done, as we can iterate on the design while we are producing it. Right. And with that, I will hand it over to Murillo.
Hello, everyone. Hope you guys can hear me well. So today I'm going to talk about some changes that are planned for the Alpha Wiki program. With that, I'm going to also talk about my row change on Liquipedia. And that's actually what I'm going to start with. Basically, until April this year, start from the beginning. I joined Liquipedia as a full-time in 2018, and my title was Liquipedia Alpha Manager. And it is what a lot or most people know me for, like taking care of Alpha Wikis and checking new wikis to be installed, promotions, etc., etc., etc. But starting April, I had a row change, which basically means I am in charge of all wikis, but not only on the wiki perspective of things, but also or mostly on community approach of things. So, for example, if we're having issues on the Counter-Strike wiki with a tournament organizer, I am you can ask me, or if I didn't notice before, of course, to reach out to ESL and get things sorted, and or try to find a common ground, or just being a middleman in situations that involve community talking with professionals and stuff like this. You probably noticed that I'm the one doing most announcements, so that's something that I'm doing a lot more often right now. Anyways, additionally to this, we are also looking into hiring more managers to work on Liquipedia. It is still something that we are checking, and we don't know if it's part-time or full-time. It depends how things are going to work for this. And that's actually my next slide. First of all, I'm gonna have to tell you a brief story so I give you some context and why I have these two logos on the slide. So why new managers? So basically, as I said, I started working 2018, but before that, I was a volunteer, just most like you guys here. And with Overwatch coming, being launched, etc., we got a wiki installed for it, and I decided to commit to it, spend time making edits and making sure the wiki will be top notch. And it struggled with contributors for a long time, but in the beginning, mostly me and Tefos spent a lot of time editing, and it was, of course, not basically just us, but it was mostly us two editing the wiki. And eventually it got some traction, and it got more contributors and got to a better place. And I could easily say that Overwatch is a very successful wiki. Like, we have contributors, we have good coverage, community recognizes us. We often see people sharing links to the wiki on social media, so it is very easy to say it's a successful wiki. And time goes by, and Riot announces Project A, which is called Valorant nowadays. And we had internal meetings talking like, hey, it would be really nice to have a really good wiki for it, but how can we make sure this is going to happen? And I suggested an Overwatch approach to it, Overwatch wiki approach to it, which is basically me spending time and actually putting numbers into the wiki myself to see if that would sort some some results. Of course, all Valorant and Riot are big names, and the game itself could just naturally grow. But from the numbers that we analyzed and the KPIs that we measured internally, we concluded that that approach, it actually works really, really well. So our idea here is to have managers that would take over and do similar approaches for specific game titles or specific genres of games, or titles that we think are strategically important for us to grow as a product or as a company. So yeah, that's basically the the whole story, how we got to this idea, and what we are planning to do soon. Then with that, so as I said, the new managers are probably are something that we're looking for, but they are not set on stone. Set on stone, is that how you say in English? I don't know. Anyways, you understood what I meant. Um, so with managers or not, we're gonna have a different approach on how we deal with alpha wikis in general, or wikis on wikis in general. So we're gonna try to be a bit more flexible and open to more suggestions from both the community and Oh, staff is also part of our community, but more internal suggestions from staff. We're gonna run through trial and error to see which kind of uh, procedures will work out better, and hopefully better have a better documentation of all these things. And with new procedures, hopefully approaching new and potential new problems that will come next in a better or easier way. And talking about procedures, one of them is basically sets, which is the dormant wikis. Dormant wikis will be a new category of wikis um, that we gonna set up. It is still in initial steps, and I'm gonna come up with guidelines on how to work with them and which case should apply for a wiki to be moved to dormant. And basically, it will be a category of wikis that were or not active at some point, and eventually, for multiple reasons, like publisher stop developing the game, or there's no real competitive scene anymore, we're gonna still have the wikis installed for legacy reasons or for documentation reasons, but we're gonna archive these wikis. Basically, they will still be open for editing, but they will be way less promoted than all the other ones. um, and of course, after setting up guidelines and everything, I'm gonna share them with community and um, see what they think about and adjust, so everyone is on the same page and agreeing with everything. And that's all for me. If you guys have any questions, please drop on Discord. I probably forgot to mention one thing or two, so yeah, feel free to ask.
Let's go, Job. And Brett, I'm sorry. I only listed one person in this slide. I'm really sorry, Brett.
I think I'll be doing all of the presentation if I'm not mistaken, right, Brett? Yeah. Okay, so first off, unless my voice decides to fill on me, because I've been sick, as you can probably hear. So excuse me if my voice isn't always clear. So brief introduction, because not all of you may know me. I'm Job. I started in January as the Liquipedia business manager, and we were supposed to have a PiddyCon a bit earlier, but unfortunately it got delayed for multiple reasons. Um, so my introduction was also delayed. But hey, I'm here now for all of you to see, and you'll hopefully be seeing more of me in the future. What I want to do in terms of the business strategy, I'm clicking a bit too fast, is I want to focus on what our focus is for this year. So all of you know what. Okay, Brad, pulling out the sunglasses. uh, what I want to do is I want to focus on what we're planning for this year and what the mindset is within the entire Liquipedia team. So how we're trying to keep the machine running. It's not all revenue driven, by the way. Um, so when I joined the team, I looked at specifically what place we were in with the Liquipedia team, how we were working, etc. And there's really three pillars that we can focus on in terms of improvements for this year. They're split up in two categories. On the one end, we have foundation, and on the other end, we have expansion. So within the foundation, we look at people and process. People in this case also includes you guys, the community. We want to involve you in our business plan and all the projects that we have running this year, but also in the future. And then another part is hiring new people. We are, as you already heard from Richie, we're looking for wiki managers, and we're also looking to expand on a couple of other positioned to make sure that we can run all the projects that we have planned for this year. In terms of process, Liquipedia grew very endemically or organically from the community and being a community product to being more of a business product, or well, a professionalized product, I should say. So business product is not the right term. So a professionalized product, which also came with like a growing team, and it's still growing. And over the years, there was a strategic vision. It's been fragmented, pieced together. It lives inside everybody's head differently, probably with the community as well. So one of the key things we want to do in process is creating a strategic vision and being able to follow through on that. But also, since the teams are growing and expanding, we need to have a bit more structure on how we work together, where we can still embrace that community feeling without going into too much of like a corporate structure or something similar. We want to keep that community feel within Liquipedia. And then in terms of expansion, this is the product side. So really focusing on future-proofing Liquipedia, all the new projects that we have running. So a better overall product. Also nurturing and improving the current revenue streams and looking where we can push for greater success in relatively new revenue streams. Now, I want to give like an overview of all the projects and KPIs that we have set up for this year. They may not all be pushed into fruition, and some may be delayed until a later point in time. Some may be moved forward. So, but just know that these are technically the projects that we want to work on. There will be one that you'll find missing, which is the betting integration, which we've already scrapped at the beginning of the year. That was on here though. We have what we call business units or departments within the Liquipedia team, and we're split between the Wiki and community management team, business development, and mobile app and web development. What you'll notice specifically is, I think, the Wiki and community management team, and also the mobile app and web development team. From the Wiki and community management team, what's key here is the community involvement plan. I'll dive into this a little bit further in the next slides, and I'll do that for all of them that are marked with a star. But know that within these three pillars, we have focus projects that we're working on and side projects that we're also working on, but that are not key to our future for Liquipedia this year, and maybe pushed into following years. And these are really the most important projects for this year. So like I said, one of the projects in this for the community and Wiki management team is, but is also something that we want to embrace across all departments, is making sure that the community is at the heart of Liquipedia. We have our current situation, or what we're currently doing, everything that Liquipedia is based on you guys, on the contributions that you supply. So you're really the driving force behind Liquipedia. And I have noticed, and I think we have noticed, and you guys have been very vocal about this, is that there was a erosion of faith in the business direction that we were taking, mostly because of the betting integration, I believe, but there have been a multitude of factors to this. And on top of that, we've been very opaque and also infrequent about our communication. I noticed, Fenrir, that you already asked the question, will we have more PiddyCons, which is a confirmation of at least this bullet point, right? There has been communication also on Discord and also in formats as PiddyCon, but it's been opaque and too infrequent. We really want to achieve your buy-in and have consistent contributions from you still, and we want to secure that, right? And we know that to do that, our place is to facilitate in that, and also make sure that we're readily available for the community and update you guys about all the progress that we're making, projects that we're working on. And that's really the key of PiddyCon as well, is we want to be transparent about what we're doing, how we're doing it, and how we can make sure that you guys have all the information that you can have about Liquipedia. And that also means that a lot of the projects updates that you'll find here, as Eric, for example, already alluded to with the dark mode, is all of that is still up for change. But what we want to do is we want to show like the progress that we're making, and we want to show the process that we're going through, and include you guys in the decision making. So that's really our goal for 2022, is involving, and for future years as well, by the way, but really embracing that in 2022 is involving the community in the future of Liquipedia. The way we want to do this is we want to present our 2022 projects, which I just did. We also want to publish, at least at a bi-monthly cadence, what our progress is. That won't always be in a PiddyCon format, but we'll look into setting up dedicated project channels in Discord where you can follow progress. Potentially, we'll make it an announcement too. We have to fine-tune exactly how we're going to do this. We also want to host Q&As. That's part of it, part of PiddyCon, of course, but whoever joined the betting integrations Discord channel, you also saw that we had a community survey there, and also the Q&A after the presentation. And that's really all part of like keeping you guys at the heart of our community, at the heart of Liquipedia. And there's also a plan for a community support plan. I know that you guys get tough questions every once in a while, either from esports communities, but it could also be from, if we look back at the betting integration, the gambling, then changing results pages, etc., which can be hard or annoying or stressful to deal with, and we would really want to support there. I'm gonna take a sip of tea because my voice is canceling me right now. Okay, we're back. Then another project that we're running is our custom Wiki software platform, or rather our own Wiki software platform. As you are most likely all aware, Liquipedia runs a media wiki, and media wiki is moving in a direction that's ill-suited for Liquipedia. Our devs are, of all the time that they allocate to features and extensions, spending about 40% on it for finding workarounds to make sure that Liquipedia keeps running and we can continue to improve the extensions and the features. So what this is doing is it's hamstringing us unnecessarily to well, in how we distribute our dev work. And in addition, Media Wiki, if it continues to change and continues to go in a direction that doesn't necessarily fit within Liquipedia, it will be a looming threat that Liquipedia will cease to exist, at least in its current way, cease to function in its current way. And that's what we want to prevent, right? So we're trying to become more independent. We want to make Liquipedia more efficient. We want to make Liquipedia future-proof. And we want to do that by removing the dependency on MediaWiki and instead creating a custom wiki software platform. This is a bit technical, but it will save us a ton of time in terms of extensions on the dev team. It will also help us hire new developers as well, because they don't need to have an inherent knowledge of or experience with MediaWiki. And it should also enable us to tailor the platform, tailor Liquipedia more to our wants and needs. And I know that Fontex has a ton of ideas about how we can make Liquipedia a lot more efficient. So looking forward to seeing how this is going to develop in the future. Do know that this is a really large project. We've already wanted to start working on it, but we're a bit delayed with starting it. As the people who saw the betting integration presentations know, and the effect of canceling the betting integration is also that we can hire one less person, but we to help on the PHP project or the custom wiki software project. And this means that it's going to run into 2025 most likely before it's fully released. So know that this is a really long-term project. Then something that most of you have probably heard about is the Open LPDB API. Currently, the LPDB API exists as the primary connection between Liquipedia, the Liquipedia app that's being developed, and Liquid Plus. And we've looked into ways that we can monetize this, so we can further develop it and also fund a couple of projects that we could run with the Liquipedia database API. But so far, that's been very hard because Liquipedia itself does not necessarily own the data that is on Liquipedia. It's all sourced from other sources. So there is potential for small-scale revenue projects which could further drive the LPDB API. but they do not balance well against required sales resources and how we would manifest that. So what we're instead going to do and what our goal is to open up the LPDB API so the community can build projects off the LPDB API and show really what the benefits are of the LPDB API and how we can support several esports within games with it. And hopefully, what we want to achieve at least is we want to make sure that this is really some love back to the community as well, to give you the time and opportunity to make your own projects off of it, because I think you've deserved it also for putting your trust into us when we took a business direction that wasn't necessarily aligned with you guys. And we also think it will help us establish Liquipedia more as a de facto source for esports information, especially within the market. There is a lot of competition from other wikis, esports wikis. So adding this, we do see it as a further development of our product. Whew, another sip of tea, because okay, and there's further benefits to this, right? So it allows also new communities for new new esports to prefer us over competitors, because we might have that additional layer or that added layer on top of it in terms of complexity and what we can do. But it will also eventually, hopefully, allow us to create monetizable projects off of the data put into the LPDB, because really there's one revenue generated that we can think of within the LPDB API, and that is transforming the data into something that's specifically useful for tournament organizers or developers. So turning data into information, and that we currently don't have the resources or the staff for to do it, or just the sheer amount of time to work on. That's actually the last thing about the BizDev updates. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A, and I'll try and answer them at the end of the presentation. And then I'm handing it over to Rado or Nidra.
All right, thank you. Eric, am I unmuted properly? All right. Hey guys, I'm Rado, aka Nidra. I've been in esports for quite some time. I think I'm going into 14 years now, but I've been with Team Liquid for 3 years now, working as a project manager for Liquipedia, and specifically as a product owner as well on the Liquipedia mobile app, which has been in development for some time now. First of all, I kind of want to present my team. So apart from me, we have Jordi, who is our lead UI designer, so responsible for making the app look awesome, which he does. We have Jasper, who I think a lot of you know, who is our lead developer. We have Anshul working as the backend developer on the team, and Rika, who was already introduced earlier in the presentation as our LPDB developer, basically, who joined us just very recently. Yeah, the app is currently in alpha, actually, as of very, very recently. We're working with a few key contributors who are helping us test it. And we're working towards the next big milestone, which is to push it into a closed beta and providing it to more people for testing. We want to do it once the core functionality is complete. And of course, the end goal will basically be to bring your Liquipedia, the one that you've built, into basically the de facto industry standard of esports data coverage to your pocket, so you can browse it, customize it, enjoy it from your mobile phone. Right, the state of the alpha, as is currently, have in mind that as the slide says, a lot of these things still need polishes and bug fixes. But yeah, we have 4 of the 6 main wikis that we want to launch with basically done. We're going to work on CSGO next, and we're going to work on League of Legends after that. Again, Rickard is leading the charge there, but working with the core contributors in these communities to make it happen. So this is hugely appreciated. The progress there is really, really nice. In terms of features, we have basic functionality like players, team, tournament pages, brackets working, and we're actively also working to get the feed and the search functionality up to standard, which would then basically lead into the closed beta as well. Right. Yeah, I've been talking about beta. So probably the question you've asked is like, when can we get the beta? Uh, I'm first gonna start at alpha. The alpha is probably gonna stay online continuously, and as we look and discuss how we can add more people to help test it. But essentially, the alpha will transition into a closed beta once certain core functionality is implemented. So this would include like adding notifications, improving tournament data, getting the search to a good place, and finishing all of our 6 wikis. Um, we are also aiming for an open beta for this fall season. Basically, you'll be able to download it, test it, and give us feedback. So we are very excited to do this. Obviously, the goal is to, if there are like more PiddyCons, which I guess Eric can speak more about this later, but if we have more PiddyCons, you will get obviously more updates and more regular ones. Hopefully, we'll soon feel comfortable to share what the app actually looks like and feels like. We're not really ready to show this right now, but it's one of the goals that I want to achieve um, for the app. Yeah. And this is all I have for today. I know it's a bit short, but again, the app is in a very, very early stage. Revealing anything much more, I think it's not going to be fair, but I'm looking forward to actually being able to reveal more and answer any questions if you have.
Yeah, thank you all for these insights. And we do have quite a lot of questions coming in right now. I'll answer the last one first. Corvus asked, will PiddyCon be available as a YouTube VOD? And will this thread be looked into further for people who aren't able to watch the PiddyCon live and probably still want to ask questions? First one, definitely we will have a VOD. Second one, I mean, sure, you can always ask questions. They won't be added to the video though. But definitely feel free to ask questions, always.
And we will answer them as well.
Yes, that too. Sorry, I hope that was implied. Maybe it wasn't. Right. Maybe this one from Fenrir to Murillo. What is Liquipedia looking for from these new managers? What would be their job responsibilities, and what would the recruitment process look like?
So I don't know how much I can share on this topic, but basically we're looking for someone or someone's in the plural that will be in charge of being on top of what's going on specific wikis or specific wikis, being them specific games or specific genre of games, and they would be editing the wiki, but at the same time making space that for people to edit themselves and learn. They would also be on Discord, available for questions, welcoming new people, assisting new people, like guiding in general new contributors. I think we also have plans for social media, so we have not necessarily that this person would be tweeting or whatever, but assisting with content, what's going on in the scene, sharing if there's a big new coming up. Also on being on top of things is, let's say publisher announce a big event or a big circuit of events, and we need new features for the wiki. So this person being familiar with the scene and on top of news of the scene would be in charge of either reporting to me or trying to find people that would be able to help them to adapt the wiki or improve templates for these new set of rules or formats that were announced. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the hiring process part of that, or recruitment process, we have sort of figured out. We've started the process already of hiring some people, and this is going to be a small start. We don't have the budget to hire a lot of people, but we do want to make sure that we see that the how they call it in business speak, return of investment is there, so that the wikis where we do apply this new process to do receive a nice clear boost to our, again, business speak KPIs or key point indicators, I think it is, and in so we can expand our the program and have much more people becoming wiki managers. And then the recruitment process is going to probably change, and we're probably going to have more open postings about posts and such. Maybe I'll take this one from Adiko for Job or Brett, or maybe myself, if neither of you feel comfortable with it. As managers for wikis is a system being explored, do you think there is a world in which developers or publishers would be interested in paying for said managers' time to make sure that the games have a presence in Liquipedia? Or creating a framework for developers, community managers to also hop into Liquipedia to become co-managers with a Liquipedia assigned manager?
Yeah, that's a super interesting one. So this is a multifaceted question, I think. But let's start here. So we are looking to establish relationships with publishers and developers and tournament organizers to see, especially for new esports, whether there's an interest to combine our efforts together, right? So between Liquipedia and the publisher and developer. That's really interesting for games like Valorant, which we figured out, and as Richie already mentioned, would be strategically important to Liquipedia, as probably a lot of the different the wikis would hop onto the opportunity and would be fighting for market share. So there's definitely a desire for us to, and also work with smaller publishers, because Valorant obviously backed by a large developer / publisher. So we are looking into making those connections, and what we're now seeing is that that's particularly interesting for the smallest ones, where they don't necessarily have a either a user or contributor base on Liquipedia yet, and we are thinking about launching new wikis for that. In terms of your question, which I think was also alluding to, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but also alluding to the opportunity of current contributors being paid for their efforts. If that becomes an opportunity in the future, I think, well, we haven't made a decision on it yet, so I don't know whether we could or would support it. But the idea currently is that that is currently not being explored as an idea. It's not to say that it won't be something in the future. There's always a possibility for it, but it's not anything that we're exploring at the moment.
Yeah, to add to this, I think part of the role of a wiki manager is to create a good relationship with the publisher, with the community managers of publisher, or the developers of a game, as well as can be established, depending on obviously the developer.
Yeah, and I think something that we haven't, or I haven't mentioned yet now, is we don't necessarily want to go into a format or a way of working where we as the Liquipedia team would dictate what content would be put on the wiki. And if we would start paying contributors for the contributions, then that is something that we will be doing. And then I don't think we can really embrace being an objective sort of source of information anymore. So that jeopardizes the mission and the goal of Liquipedia as a product. So that's why we're not pursuing that path. And I think I didn't do a good job at explaining that earlier, so I wanted to give this deep dive on it.
Cool. I'll take this one from I'm Mine. Is match 2 now the new thing for all tourneys on the Valorant wiki, or just a test? So I'll answer this, although it's technically Rathos' area of expertise. So the match 2 is the thing that's going to be across all wikis. We're unifying our code base around how we store matches. The match 2 system is much more resilient. It's much more expandable. It's much sturdier. It's much faster. In pretty much all things, it's better, except it's a bit more generalized. It's not as specific. And that's maybe the only cost there. But it's what we're going to do on all wikis for ideally everything we have, as the way it stores data is so much better. It gives us opportunities to, for example, switch between a bracket view and a calendar view, or a cross table and a match list. With just like a button click, you can see different systems, because it's the rendition of how the matches look is independent from storing them. So they are stored as a list, and then we just display them in different formats, such as a bracket. And yeah, there's a lot of, besides just the match 2, there's a lot more standardization work that's taking place. You will see in general that we will have a lot more modules on commons that will be used, with maybe some small things on your wiki that like localizes it. But we're trying to move our code base to be as unified as possible with one source, which is on commons.
And the reason for that is also because that makes it easier for us to manage the code as well, right?
Yes, the code becomes manageable. From not being manageable to manageable. We can then expand as well, like scaling. It's what we've been doing the last couple of years. It's definitely been a focus of like 5 years ago we were like 12 wikis, now we're 50 plus. And we obviously want to keep going with encapsulating all of esports and be a place where anyone for any esports can start a wiki. And so to tie into this question, Seb Lala asked, I think that's at least how the name is pronounced, how to contribute as a developer to Liquipedia, as in how can I join the development team for, let's say, the mobile app or general development. The mobile app team does not have, you can apply to work, it's as a developer. If you want to just be part of open development, there is some open development around Match 2 LPDB integration across all wikis. And I think Rathos or HTTP Alpha would be good people to ask about that. They know that much better than I do. How to get started and help out, because it's a community project to a pretty big extent.
And if you're looking for a paid position as a developer, there's always careers available. I think maybe Brett, you can link I saw that you linked it in Discord already. I think can you also link it in the Twitch chat so everybody knows where.
Fontax has linked it in Twitch chat a couple of times, I think.
Perfect.
The
Thanks.
careers at Team Liquid page.
Yes.
And also, Me asked, why is Liquipedia Liqui if we're associated with Team Liquid? And the simple answer here is because history. Way back when, Team Liquid wasn't a professional esports team. It was a clan that created a website. That website wanted to create strategy guides and decided to make a wiki to store the strategy guides. Projects that ran from Team Liquid often got Liqui as a sort of name before what they were. So there's other projects like Liquibet, for example, that also just use the Liqui rather than the full Liquid. I also think it might be because it sounds closer to Wiki, so like Wikipedia. I'm not sure. No, the people who came up with the name aren't around anymore, really. But the confusion with calling it Liquipedia has existed since the very early days, as Fontax used, or very happy to remind everyone, the first logo that was ever made for Liquipedia was Liquipedia. It wasn't a Liquipedia logo. It's a classic.
I want to jump into another question. I saw that Fenrir asked, couldn't you instead, regarding the LPDB API, couldn't you instead of monetizing the data, monetize the resource that provides the data, so the API rather than the data that's on the in the LPDB? And that's that is the case. That's what we were looking into. But there are a lot of alternatives already to the LPDB API that work differently, particularly via scrapers and automated data collection. So being able to do that at the rates that they're providing at the moment is not feasible for us at the moment. So we had to look into alternatives, and otherwise we're trying to jump into a market where the market is almost pretty much fulfilled already. So we're looking into alternative ways to do that.
Cool. Maybe I should ask, or is your voice okay to take another question?
I'm good, as long as you guys can put up with my voice like this.
Of course. Martin asked, obviously the betting integration fell through because of the betting partner wanting an opt-out approach. Has there been any consideration into attempting to find an alternative partners that might be smaller, but still reputable, that would be willing to sign onto a opt-in approach for obviously less revenue, but at least potential improvement over none?
The short answer is yes. Long answer is if we would do that, there have been a couple of other betting operators that were interested in the betting integration, but we held them to the strict requirements that were shared with you previously as well, and we didn't find one where we were fully comfortable with setting up a deal with a betting operator. So that could be, and that could be due to a multitude of the requirements, right? Sometimes it could have been the amount of licenses that they had, that they, for example, only had a global license versus licenses in specific countries, or they may not have been able to provide the technical assistance, or there are a multitude of things that we checked them by, and we didn't see an opportunity there. And on top of that, there was already the community sentiment towards the betting integration wasn't necessarily overly positive. And this is an area that if we would want to invest into it, and if we would want to relaunch the betting integration, we set a threshold for how many people could be opposed to it. And we saw, to share some of the details about the survey with you, we saw that most people were neutral, but the negative sentiment weighed stronger than the positive sentiment. So there were more people who were very opposed to than there were people who were very in favor of the betting integration, which eventually, created a lopsided situation for us to think, okay, this is still something that we want to pursue. And that's a large reason as to why we canceled it. So it's not only the opt-in, opt-out version, it's also the sentiment. And we will look into if we would relaunch it into a balance where the revenue we could create from it and the projects that we can fund from it would weigh against potential negative attitudes towards it. But it was just too overwhelmingly negative, the sentiment towards the betting integration.
Thank you. Radoslav, will the mobile beta be closed to Liquipedia contributors or open to anyone in the esports community? I think also by Fenrir.
The open beta?
I guess the closed beta. The open beta, I assume, is open to everyone.
Yeah, so we're still discussing this. If it makes sense, we obviously want to release it to the Liquipedia contributors, but I not really answer the question with like certainty. The goal is to bring it to as many, I would say, like trusted people to test as possible. But we'll have more details as closed beta actually approaches.
Okay. Do you have an estimated time for when Match 2 is supposed to be implemented on the CS Wiki?
Yeah, I think I also already answered Katana this, but on the current timeline, CSGO Match 2 should be completed around end of June, early July. We're doing the revamped prize pool modules next, and after CSGO, it will be League of Legends. So roughly around mid-July, we'll have Match 2 done for all 6 wikis, barring, unintended like off days or, any unexpected delays. So we're on a good track on LPDB version 2, I would say.
Thank you. We have a lot of questions for Murillo to answer, or maybe me and Murillo to answer. We could start. Would Wiki Zablala asked, would wiki managers be for every region, or one wiki will have one manager overseeing everything?
We're not doing regional managers. We, as I've mentioned before, our idea for now is having wiki-specific managers or genre-specific managers. So you would cover every single region within that wiki.
Yeah, because it's essentially, it's not the job of a wiki manager is not to cover the regions, but it's to find and help the people and create a community on the wiki that will then cover all regions, not just like one region. Then, as Bazer asked, would managers have a role to play in addressing how potentially controversial wiki-wide policy decisions are made? The current decision-making process is extremely slow and often drops the ball due to disinterest or apathy. I think we both can answer this. Yes and no. I think we're looking at other things, right, for solving the decision-making process and speeding it up, where wiki managers aren't going to be the main reason or the main way to solve it.
Yeah, I'm gonna answer this on my perspective, not like the whole group or the whole company. I think personally, I feel a lot of these new controversial topics are obviously unpredictable, and we didn't really have experiences as to similar like that before. So at the same time, we could just go with something and whatever works. I think it's nice to take time to resolve some of these issues, but I also agree we took too long for some topics in specific. But we're learning and improving. And to answer the question more directly, and also perhaps quoting Eric a bit, I don't think necessarily like the managers will necessarily be addressing the topics themselves, but I would expect them to at least flag them, if it's not obvious, of course, flag these problems to me or to Eric, and assist with coming with a solution.
Maybe we can it's a little bit more about the process as well, right? So I fully agree with all of Richie has said so far, and specifically the topics seem to pop up one after another this year, which I think was also an irregularity, and we've not taken it lightly because internally, as you could probably see in the Discord channels, there was a lot of discussion about how to handle this from a policy standpoint, right? So between all of the community members, and everybody had a different vision on it, and that's the same within the Liquipedia team. So we had several meetings where we wanted to discuss what was the best way forward in terms of policy as well, and considering the sensitiveness of the situations, that did take longer than initially expected. But we also wanted to make sure that what we did was the correct way of doing it from a Liquipedia perspective as a product, but also a solution that we as the Liquipedia team could back, and that we thought that the community could back as well. And since this is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Richie and Eric, but something that we're previously not quite used to yet in the manner that it happened now. And like Richie said, we're learning how we can address this and also be a bit more efficient and faster in the decision-making process.
Yeah,
that's it.
and more people will hopefully mean we have more time to put out fires when they occur. But a lot of policy stuff, I think, ideally that is the community to be very big part of the decision-making process. There's a lot of things where, like Job mentioned before, like we don't want to become the ones who just decide everything, what's like good content, what's bad content. It's much more important that the community actually is the decider of this in most cases. I think we can assist with like what's legal and illegal, or what's ethical and unethical, and what makes good sense for the longevity of the project, and what doesn't make sense for the longevity of the project. Because a lot of our work is to ensure that Liquipedia exists for a very long time. Or I guess that's our biggest job, really. Right. I think this is for Radoslav, maybe. The dark mode closed beta will be this month? Question mark.
This is what we're shooting for. Again, things might be delayed, but yeah, all of the design work has been completed for it. All that is left is implementation, and then basically shipping the beta to testers. So yeah, end of June so far should be possible.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be a closed beta. It's open in so much as if you log in and you accept beta features, you'll get the beta feature. I think is the way we're going to do it. And that was Katana who asked that question. Dylan asked, what are the qualifications for the Overwatch and Valorant manager for the wiki? I don't think we're...
No, I think the slide was a bit confusing because we had the Overwatch logo and the Valorant logo there, but that was to explain like the history of why we decide to hire wiki managers, because those two games where Richie put in all the effort, that's why we decided that we now need wiki managers, and how it's a function that we can fulfill with enough support from the team, right? But Richie, elaborate further.
Yeah. I'm sorry that was a bit confusing. The logos were there just to tell a story. I was not talking specifically about Overwatch and Valorant managers.
Yeah. That's why we're looking at the wikis we're looking at are most likely younger games than both. Well, definitely younger than Overwatch, although Overwatch 2 is around the corner. But it definitely has a really well-established group of core contributors already. So I don't know if Overwatch needs a wiki manager as one of the first ones, for sure.
Overwatch 2 is already being played, by the way.
Is there tournaments for it? I haven't seen one. Ooh.
And also, it's good to mention that, and I think Richie answered this already, or said this already in this presentation, but the wiki managers that we're currently looking for are not specific wiki related per se. We're looking at a small subgroup of wikis, and potentially that might be a thing in the future where we have specific wiki managers, or we have subgroup managers, but that is all future plans.
Right. Adiko asked, what are some ways Liquipedia is looking to bring in more contributors from non-Western regions to contribute to wikis? As an example, Age of Empires 1 has a large Vietnamese community. What tools can Liquipedia offer to existing contributors in Age of Empires to help reach out to that community? That's a pretty good question.
A hard one.
Yeah, it's a good, hard question.
I mean, that's something that I'm trying to figure out since I joined Liquipedia as a full-time employee. So I don't really have an answer for that. However, there's something that we... I don't know if this was ever mentioned publicly or I'm leaking anything.
Liquileaks.
Yeah, we have ideas on how to localize wikis, so that would be a way to approach better regions or countries where people don't have English as their first language, or that don't have a high rate of people that speak English as a second language. So that could be a way to have more people coming from these regions to Liquipedia.
But no, that's also very hard to realize due to the amount of content and the frequency of content that's uploaded. We are looking into it, and we are looking into it through different lenses as well. Maybe these are leaks too, but we're looking at if you look at our current employee residencies, so to say, so where everybody lives, the majority is from Europe. Brett's obviously from the US. We have Def from India as well, and there are a couple of outliers, right? Rado is also, well, he's in Europe, but not
Jesus.
No,
Wow. Balkan is now not Europe.
No.
I know
Wow.
it's close to the
Wow.
Bosphorus,
Such-
but it's still
I was
Europe.
going to say.
Wow. Such a North European mindset.
I was going to say that the majority is from North Europe. So, and that we are, the majority of us also based in the Netherlands, so we can work from the Utrecht office. That was kind of what I was going for. But thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
No, so, but we're trying to diversify that more to also have roles outside of Europe specifically, all of Europe specifically, and to make sure that we can touch base with people from the community in different countries as well and make that easier.
Yeah, definitely setting up a much wider group of people who work on the wiki is our goal. And that means where you come from, where you know, languages you speak, etc. Because I think the best way to get into like a Vietnamese community is being a Vietnamese person who can speak Vietnamese with the community and explain why Liquipedia is such a good idea for them to join. And then there's always going to be the issue of input into Liquipedia probably will always be language dependent. So you need some English ability to contribute to the wiki. And that's always going to be sort of a, I think, minor blocker. English is still the by far the most commonly spoken language across the world. So technically it's very difficult to make it so we can have multiple language inputs. Right. Question from Katana. My question is, if a main wiki ceases to be active, could it be moved to an earlier stage? And if a wiki that is very active can then replace it? I'll take this. Or do you want to answer, Murlo?
No, go ahead.
So Murlo mentioned the Jesus, word has escaped me.
Dormant wikis.
Dormant, not defunct. Dormant, good. The dormant wiki system, which is what if an wiki of any stage becomes inactive, will end up in. And they are not like, these are like wikis we're just gonna leave and forget, but they're going to be, if activity again happens on them, we'll put them back into whichever position sort of they belong to. There is no... the second part of the question, if a wiki that is very active can replace it. So there's no limit on how many main wikis there are. That is all based on how active the individual wikis are. It's a completely individual rating. And the second part of that question is, I also wanted to ask if match 2 is used on CS. And the answer is no, not right now, but soon. Like Radoslav pointed out just before for the question earlier. Right. Adiko asked, it is known that players and casters will sometimes lean into Liquipedia to serve as a light CV. Is this a use that you feel okay with? Or how does Liquipedia, in quotation marks, as a whole see it? Maybe I should take this. I think it's inevitable that if you're on the cusp of being like a notable caster and you get a Liquipedia page, that will boost you over someone who's just under the cusp of being a notable caster. And so I think this has happened all the time, and it's very difficult to do anything about. To some extent, I think it's nice that casters come in and update their page, but they often fall into disrepair afterwards because they don't update them as they are on their way out and become less known. But it's very difficult to find the balance of where we should allow these sort of pages to exist. But the notability guidelines is there to sort of make sure we have some kind of gate for who is included and who's not included, and as long as we update those to ensure that it's not just anyone who gets a page, I think it's pretty okay.
I think personally, just interrupting you a bit, I guess.
That's fine. I was done.
I think it's really nice that people use it for this purpose, and because that's basically free marketing, you know, like people sharing the URL of Liquipedia and spreading the word. However, the problem here is a lot of people can't really distinguish Liquipedia being their personal CV from Liquipedia being our website. And sometimes we have situations like, oh, I want to remove this result from my page because I got last place and I don't want to display that on my page. People will think I'm starting to get too old for the game or whatever. And that's not going to happen because we're documenting things and we are not here to showcase things for you to like bring your name out there for companies or organizations. So yeah, it is nice. It's just people need to understand we're not a CV, even though it's being used as CV.
Yeah, in short, it would then be that it's fine if people use it as a CV, but since it's open source and it's publicly sourced, everything there will not necessarily be edited to fit within a certain that specific individual's point of reference, right? There are exceptions to this, but not from a CV perspective. There are exceptions where we can make alterations, but that's on a really case-by-case situation, I believe, right, Eric?
Yeah.
But not for CV purposes.
No. I mean, maybe we should start charging a fee for everyone who wants to have a Liquipedia CV. Like $1,000 a month sort of thing.
Is this a micro website?
I mean, it's sort of like the, what was it? The esports diploma thing? That was, like a esports accreditation thing that was going around. Someone was taking $750 for a piece of paper, pretty much. Oh, esports certificate. Yeah, and I mean, we're better than our esports certificates. We talked about that at the time, I think, Rado. So this may be the way to do it. I hope you know I'm joking, by the way. Right.
Can
again,
I take the next question?
Yes. Which is, since Liquid,
Yeah,
a Liquipedia wiki system. I guess it's not quite Liquipedia. There actually exists a part of the Team Liquid company called Liquipedia, so that's confusing as hell. Since the Liquid wiki system is being developed and loosely tied to a 2025 release, can we expect the current state of Liquipedia to be feature locked until then?
I'm gonna give an answer to this, and potentially Fontex is gonna scold at me. But for as far as I understood when talking to Fontex, it will not be feature locked. We'll be looking at a modular rollout, but 2025 full release is when we think that in its current state it will be fully transferred over, right? So it is still pending. That data is pending. But yeah, the short answer, it won't be feature locked, but and that's specifically why we're also looking to hire PHP developers, so that we have extra resources available, extra people available to work on creating that custom wiki software platform, without having to now dip into the people already readily available to work on features and maintaining the website as is.
Wow, we're just got 2 questions left. We're almost done. What is the most, I guess it's for everyone here, or whoever feels able to answer it. Adiko asked, what is the most memorable occasion someone mentioned Liquipedia in a way that stuck with you? I can start.
I'll go second. Go ahead.
This is a story told to me, so I wasn't part of it, but the guy who's developing was head of like apparel, I guess it's called now. There's Team Liquid, who was developing like clothes, had a garment that wasn't like out for buying yet, like a Test X thing. And he was wearing it out to a store, and someone came up to him and asked him if he was part of Liquipedia, rather than if you're Team Liquid. That always stuck with me. That we're bigger than Team Liquid.
Yes, it's true. I actually tried to find the link when this came up, but the Rocket League transition that we had in the middle of the tournament that someone had a pull down, and I'm sure someone can find this link in like 3 seconds, but
it's glorious.
That was one of the most flattering things of this joke. This is such an integral part of the Rocket League community, that just pulling down a green screen to immediately show Liquipedia standings in the middle of a tournament broadcast was just absolute chef's kiss moment. So I did love that.
I think mine gets close to it was the usage of Liquipedia standings on TI itself, with the typo of Liquipedia on the bottom, if I remember correctly. But
the videos, histories of different players, right? Or teams.
Was it that?
Yeah.
I think it was just TI standings. Was it like for the groups?
No, it was like the intro videos for different teams they presented,
Yeah,
and they
but-
show.
Yeah, they had screenshots from Liquipedia. It's like, oh yeah,
Oh.
we are on TI broadcast. You can't get bigger than this. Like.
Yeah,
is
they
perfect
fixed
moment.
the D though. The second
They
day.
did. But it was just.
I think we sent
so
off an
funny
email
anyway.
actually to
Yeah.
Valve to get it fixed.
Yeah.
Good
it's-
times.
Yeah, for me actually goes way back because I've been using Wikipedia for 10 more years than I've been working on it, and I came from StarCraft, and Wikipedia was mentioned more than the names of tournaments and players, just like overall. It was always like check things on Wikipedia. It made it the most awesome place to work with, basically.
Yeah, for me. Oh no, go ahead, Richie.
Yeah, to me, it wasn't like Liquipedia was mentioned, but I saw Liquipedia in action basically, and it was quite. It was very memorable for me. So in 2019, we got an invite to go to attend a WSG in China. Actually, shout out to Martin for that. He's probably in chat still. And I ended up going to Chongqing for that. And once I got there, I was at the airport, and someone from the event answered me, and we were waiting for a shuttle, and I was talking about like Dota with this person, and they're like, "Oh, let me check the schedule," and then he took his phone and started checking Liquipedia in front of me. And to me, it was always like China doesn't, at that point, of course, China doesn't really use Liquipedia that much, but like literally the first person I met in China was using Liquipedia in front of me without me even mentioning that I was from Liquipedia. So that's something that is stuck in my head and up to this date.
It's pretty darn cool. Mine is not as spectacular, I guess, but I haven't been around the team either for that long, and I've only been a casual user of Liquipedia. Not ashamed to say that, but recently there was I believe it was CS:GO, but I'm not 100% sure. But organization that used their promotional video of someone like getting a new player to join their team, acquiring a new player. They used the Liquipedia in their video that they used on social media as well, and promoted as being like as showing that he transferred teams, which I thought was mind-boggling, because usually you see quite expensive productions going into these videos, and this attested to me for the reputation of Liquipedia within specific esports and how big and reputable Liquipedia is. Does anyone remember what specific?
I think it's Virtus Pro and in Dota 2 actually.
Oh, Dota 2. Yeah, see, I was thinking whether it was Na'Vi, but it's Virtus Pro, which.
Yeah, but I also like the age thing. Like, check your age on Liquipedia. That's a classic.
Zodiac Sign is my favorite Liquipedia feature, though. So it's Zodiac Sign.
Oh, yeah, someone actually... Oh, it was Nitro who asked. Never mind. This Radoslav guy. You wanted to have the... Wasn't it you who asked to have the Zodiac Signs as a permanent feature?
Yeah. I want this. I just bring it to public attention. I don't think this is being talked about enough.
Right. Cool. We only have one question left. And it's Fenrir. Is there a plan to make PiddyCon a consistent recurring event that happens on specific days, or will they continue to be random throughout the year? And with that, I would like to say thank you and see you again on the 8th of September for the next PiddyCon. Bye.
Smooth.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Are we offline now?